Giselle started practicing yoga in 2010. In the 14 years since, she has acquired a taste for different yogic lineages and traditions. As she often likes to say to her classes, movement is life, and indeed, Giselle's passion for movement has led her around the globe and inspired her investigations into yoga as history, philosophy, science, and a tradition that is always evolving and growing. Giselle's yoga training started under SteamTown Hot Yoga's owner and Qigong master, Laura Alexiou, in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where Giselle took her first Bikram class in 2010. Seeking more knowledge about other types of yoga, she's traveled to India to study and practice Ashtanga at the yoga school of Mahesh Chandra and spent countless hours training with Bikram yoga staples like Tang, Esac Garcia, and Rada Garcia. Learning how to deliberately move my body, Giselle observes, teaches me that my greatest power is the control that I have over myself, applicable to mind and body alike. Welcome, Giselle.
Giselle, thank you so much for tuning in and just allowing us to interview you and share your story.
Hi.
And you're tuning in from Italy, right?
Correct. Yes,
Oh,
I am in Italia, where
Italian.
everything about me started.
No, right. And that's where it starts, right? Your yoga journey.
Well,
With where it started, you were born there. I mean,
it's a complicated that thing when people ask me where are you from, I'm always like, oh, that's such a complicated question. And I always end up telling them like where I live because theoretically I was born in Carbondale, Pennsylvania, where I lived the first 9 months of my life. My grandma, my nonna, who's also Italian, would tell me that she would come in my room to check in if I was still breathing, because all I would do was eat and sleep. And then at 9 months, my father was like, okay, enough. Like, I'm coming to get my child. And then he came, grabbed me, and took me back to Italy, where I stayed until I was 21. And that's when I
wow.
went to, that's when I went back to the United States.
Wow. How did you end up back in the United States?
Yeah, that is also a very interesting question. Usually I'm like, oh, my grandmother lived there and I got the opportunity to go there. But the truth was, and everybody gets shocked at this point, is that I was a bad girl. And I was in a very abusive relationship. It was both physically and emotionally abusive. And there was drugs involved. And at some point, my mother and my father really did not know what to do with me. And at that point, my mother was like, please go visit your grandma. Like, just spend the summer with your grandma. And I did. And I left my very abusive boyfriend going, I will come back to you. And instead, during the 3 months that I spent there, there was like a lot of fights, a lot of tension between me and my grandmother, until one day she told me this: for being a smart girl, you're so stupid. And for some reason, that allowed me to sit down and think about really what I was doing. And I started to listen to her. And she gave me the opportunity to go to school and basically like living the American dream. And so I did. I took
How
that.
old
I
were
was
you at this
smart.
point? How old were you?
I'm 21. At this point, I am 21. I came in the summer of 2003, and I went back for a little bit to kind of gather my stuff, and then went back. And I don't want to say that I never went back to Italy, because I did college in the United States. I went to Marywood University, that's in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It took me 5 years to graduate with a degree in liberal arts, but I was primarily studying languages, Spanish, German, and then I was learning English while I was there, like while, while I was studying the other languages. And then I graduated. And so, I realized how I've created a life there
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
In Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania. I mean, I come from a family that had a lot. We were four girls, and there was a lot of financial struggle. And to think that, for example, getting your license in Italy, can cost you like anywhere between like 1,200 and 1,600 euros. My father was like, "How are you planning on doing that?" And I'm like, "I'm planning on never getting a license." And then I'm in the United States, and with $30, I got my license. With $500, I got my little Toyota Paseo, and it was like a cake after that. I had three jobs for the majority of my 20 years. I loved it. I'm like, oh my God, you can work 3 jobs in Italy. Like at that time, like we couldn't even find one, like the grown-ups couldn't find one, let alone a younger person with not a lot of education. Like, being able to work 3 was just, we were making cash. And so little by little, not only me, but also my sister, I'm like, yo, girls, come, like there's opportunities here.
Oh my gosh, I love it. First off, I
Yeah.
want to hear about those first 3 jobs, but know that we're going into how the hell you got into hot yoga, like, because it started right at this time, right?
So I think that at this point, 2003, I studied yoga around the end of 2010. It was a grieving moment in my life. I had lost my aunt, my mother's sister, the year before. She fell down the steps in December 23rd of 2009. At that point, I'm in this relationship another relationship that it's like not very positive. It's not allowing me to grow. And my aunt was just so, the new, 2010, the new decade. She had so many New Year's resolution. And I am like young, beautiful, and all like, he doesn't love me. And she falls down the steps. She dies. And, I didn't want to live Christmas again. I didn't want to, there was just like nothing to celebrate. And I still, like a year later, I still cannot break up with this guy. And neither could he. Like, he's a cool guy. We're still friends now. Like I don't want to say that we're really close, but we really care for each other in a much more genuine way now. And so I can almost say that I was desperate. And I was working still 3 jobs. I was working at the airport, the local airport, from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. I was working on the phone for a healthcare company from 9 to 5. And then I was working for 3 to 4 days a week at a restaurant called Laura Dining Room. It was Italian, and people loved the way I say gnocchi and like all the Italian dishes.
Oh yeah.
And
Wait, what was that at the airport? What were you doing there?
it was my favorite job in the entire world. I was a ramp agent. Yes,
Outside with the, I'm gonna
yes, I
have an
was.
love for them from here on out. Whenever I see one, I'll think of you.
Oh, thank you. I really love that job. It was like a lot of responsibilities. Like we were driving all sorts of equipment, and like this is like a mountain, um, little city town. And so it would snow in the winter. I had to be certified to drive a ginormous truck to de-ice the plane. Then I had to be certified to be in the bucket with like a ginormous hose to squirt like all the liquids to de-ice the plane. I had to be certified to push them back, like the whole release the brake, like push it back and drive like the carts with the suitcases. You get to have like a walkie-talkie the entire time. And then the magic between 6 and 6:05, there will be 4 to 5 planes that would leave. And then the sunrise on this beautiful open space that it's the ramp. There's nothing like it. I still to this day, like I miss this job. And then I was like one of the youngest and like one of the few female, actually the 4 a.m. crew had multiple females, but I was definitely like a little thing, super mega strong. They would throw me in the bin if somebody's like, so and so left their medication in their suitcase. And I'm like, oh my God, we got to jump back in the bin, find the suitcase, take it to the people. It was just
Oh,
my
I
favorite
love
job.
it.
I broke my
Oh,
elbow there, but that's another story.
wow. Well, oh my gosh, but this also shows, yeah, just who you are a bit. I mean, so you've always been into like sunsets. Like that's one thing. Like you're quite existential as a person. You like really give reverence to things as like a
Yeah.
devoted practitioner of your spirituality. But it's cool to hear that even before your practice, you still like gave reverence to the sun.
I think that we all have that. I think that awareness change, like from, by 6 a.m., by 6:05 a.m. when I'm like watching the sunset, like I'm on my like third or fourth cup of coffee. These days, like I wake up really early, like I meditate so that I can really take that sunset in. I think that if you have 2 eyes, you want to be moved by a sunset. Otherwise, like you're blind. But the way you take it in, the way you eat it, is what changes like through the yoga practice and the yoga path.
Oh, wow, the
I
way you
think
eat
you,
it, the way you eat the sun. I love that. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that
yeah.
first class, how did you end up in there?
So I remember waking up one day, and for as much as I did love the airport, and I was making the cash that I always wanted to, there was something missing. Like I was aware that I was in the rat race, and this boyfriend that I couldn't break up with, and like the absence of my aunt. I remember waking up and understanding that, like, how come is the sun rising and she's not here? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. How does the world keep moving while mine is completely shut down? And so I remember just waking up. I'm living with my sister, the one right after me at this point, and looking at her. Her name is Jada, and be like, Jada, I need Zen. And she's like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm about to find out. For real. And so I knew that Zen, yoga, I knew these words, and I started to look. And mind you, I'm living in like Scranton, Pennsylvania. So it's like a tiny little town. And so I started to look for yoga classes. And it was like Thursday, hip opener with so and so. Friday, level 2, 3 with so and so. Now I'm done working at like 5:30. So I can only make these like odd classes until I stumble upon SteamTown Hot Yoga. Come as you are for this 90-minute practice, 26 postures, 2 breathing exercise. They never change. No pre-requirement needed. I'm like, this is what I need. This is exactly what I need. And so there I was, like an evening at 7 p.m. or something like that. There was a class, and I walk in and I had to fill out a little questionnaire about what brought me there. And I'm like, my broken heart. And I remember the guy that was doing the check-in was like, really? And I'm like, my heart is broken.
You wrote that. What brings you in today? My broken
My
heart.
broken
Oh
heart.
my gosh. See, you're so sincere. I love you so much. Okay, keep on going.
And so I remember doing this 90-minute, and just like, this is very cliche, just like everybody else, like I'm wearing a t-shirt and long pants, like, and I walk out and I look like I just jumped in the pool with my clothes on, and I'm looking at everybody and they all have smiles. And I remember thinking, like, these people are weird. Like, this is just weird. But I signed up for the 2 weeks for whatever money. So I go home and I talk to my sister and I'm like, Jada, I just did this thing. It is so weird. Like, you gotta come and try it. So the next day we go again. We come home and my sister's like, yep, that's weird. They're weird. Let's move on with our lives. But I have another sister. So the following day I'm like, Gwenda, I signed up for this thing. They are so weird. You gotta come and try it. Do the 90-minute with Gwenda. At this point, I realized how day one, I had to sit down a couple posture. I was told to try to stay in the room. So I sit down a couple posture already. The second time, I didn't have to sit down all the postures. And I was really aware of which posture was sitting down. I was really trying to not sit down the same part. I was already having like my own little technique. So like after the third time, I'm trying to invite my best friend. And my best friend is like, I have a feeling that you actually like this. Why are you trying to bring the people in it? Like, I think that you just want to do this. Do your 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay, fine. Like, fine. I'm just going to do it. And I did it. And then like the first 2 years of practice were really inconsistent. Like I was in and out. Like I wanted to commit, but then like life would get into me, like the entire like rat race, like the boyfriend that kept coming back. And so like it was not consistent until my very first yoga teacher, the owner of the studio, Laura Alexiou, was like, your little package is coming to an end. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I think I'm going to do 3 months. And she's like, I think you need to commit to the year. And I'm like, selling strategy. But I'm like, just like, because you know what, you come for a month and then you don't come anymore because it's already paid for. Like, I need you to like know that every month I'm taking your money. And I'm like, so good at selling strategy. I cannot say no to this. And so here I am.
You're like,
And
damn
already,
American.
but it was really weird how already without not like, I did not have the words, but like here I was embracing the lifestyle. Like now I was smoking cigarettes at that time. So now everything about my life was revolving around that 7 p.m. class that I have to make because Laura's taking my money every month. So I would wake up and like I would have all these bags, like the lunch bag, because now I gotta eat at a certain time. Now I gotta eat a certain way, less coffee. And I started practicing that I would smoke a cigarette on my way to class. And then right after class, I was feeling so good. Gotta celebrate with another cigarette. Slowly, I know, right? Slowly, it didn't make any sense. Like smoking a cigarette made me so like the cardiovascular of like the warm up series, right? Like by Eagle, I'm like, oh, I gotta sit down. But right, the alpha in me was like, you shall not sit down. You shall not leave the room, no matter what. Like that was already the the challenge against myself, the competition against myself, like, the wanting to be better for me. And like, I did not have these words to say it. It was just like, I had something to prove. Like, I did not know that it was to me. Like, and so as I committed to it, I fell in love with Laura. She's just like a really like amazing teacher. She's the teacher of less is more, which at some point, my eagerness to be like, and my curiosity, where's this bus to take you? Where's that bus to take you? Where'd that bus to take you? But she's more like, okay, standing head to knee, lock your left leg, pick up your right foot. That could be enough. And I'm like, no, that's not enough. What else should I need to do? How can I put my forehead to the knee? Like, you need to teach me the things. And so she kind of, put kind of hit the brakes on me and like allowing me to be like, don't be in a rush. Like, this is where you are. This is what you're doing. And I think that like a year into a more rigorous practice, I'm coming out of practice and there's like a flyer on the wall saying teacher training happening, in a couple months. It's a weekend program that happens in, I think like it took me 3 months to get that 200-hour teacher training. And it was Bikram based because she needed teachers to teach the 26 posture to breathing exercise. At this point, there's already like some talks about some scandals like in the Bikram world. And like, to me, Bikram is so far away. Like, I'm just little Giselle, like trying to break up from Vito, like, like I just, and lower my blood pressure. Like at this point, like, I'm working for corporate. My office job was like very, very demanding, very, very stressful. So I'm like, I can do this. Like I'm going to do this. And I did the 26 and 2 teacher training. Oh wait, no, I was thinking about it and not have the bravery to do it. It was at that time that like I come out of one of the classes, the poster is there and I'm looking at it just like every other day when I come out of practice. And this guy walks by me and he goes, you know who will be good at that? And I'm like, who? You.
Hell yeah.
I'm like, stop it. Don't see me. You'll make it. And so then like, I really did it. I really did it. And when that training was done, I was so hungry to like a weekend, only doing it over the weekend. I want to do it every single day. And so I sat with that hunger for a while I was trying to find my voice into how to teach the 26 and 2 class. And already like things were changing in my little SteamTown Hot Yoga world, which I love the abbreviation because it was shy. And it's like, oh, the shy crew. We were the shy crew. It was changing. Like, she started to introduce 60-minute classes. She started to introduce the Barkin method, which was a vinyasa class, which attracted a completely different population into the studio. But that is how it began and how I actually got into my first teacher training. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So thank
Yes.
you, Laura. Her name Laura?
Laura Alexiou. I literally like I spent a couple of years working for the studio and then becoming the manager of the studio. I admire her so much that I had her mannerism. Like, my hair has always been long, but she had short hair at some point. I didn't even know why, but my hair was short. And like, I would move my hands like her.
That's one thing we share, I think. Like an obsession with teachers. Like, I'll like start doing the same things. Yeah, it's so funny. But I'm glad we share
But
that. I don't feel
But
quite
in a
as
way, though, it was beautiful because she allowed it with a grace, and it was almost like beneficial to her because I was really rough in many, many ways, and I'm really loud and I'm really expensive, and she wanted me to be loud and expensive, and she wanted me to have my own voice, but at the same time, like, that studio was her livelihood, and she wanted me to be the face of the studio, and she wanted to be able to, you know, when you own a studio, like that's what you do. Like it's that labor of love. And she wanted to have a team that could represent not just the healing art of the asana, but also, her upbringing. Like she is a Qigong master. She doesn't have like her 500-hour teacher training. She has 10,000 hours of Qigong. She does the sword thing. She does it with that. I know. And she's like a tiny little blonde, woman. Yeah. And so at some point, she kind of like refined me first into what is the shy community? How does the shy community think, feels? What is the motto of the shy community? So that approach of like the less is more, so that so that there were no wrong reason to step on your mat. Like that's one main thing, one of the many things that I learned from her. That you want to come to be away from your family, great idea. You want to come to become flexible, great idea. You want to come because you have your broken heart, awesome. You're in the right place, no matter what your motives are. And I carry that with me like throughout this career this path. I don't want to call it career, this path that I chose, or that it chose me. So yeah, like all the love to Laura, all the love to Laura.
Yeah. So
Actually,
the Barkin method, right? She introduced you to that as well. I saw you trained in that before you went to India, right? So you got into the Barkin.
let me see here. I actually trained, maybe so I am pretty sure that I went to India before I did the Barkin method.
So she kind of
Yes.
like whet your appetite to go to India that first time.
So I'm done with Laura's training, and I'm eating every word out of her mouth. Like I am just so like the world according to Laura. Which by the way, she wrote a book, The Architecture of Your Life. It's really like, it's a good intro to spirituality and mindful living. And, um, and so I'm spending my time at the studio, and slowly I have no interest in money. I have no interest in any of my jobs. Like I just want to spend time at the studio. I'm teaching a few classes, but it's not enough. But I found myself multiple times coming out of the room and random people telling me, "Do you practice Ashtanga?" And I'm like, "I don't even know what Ashtanga is." And I go, "No." "Oh, you should. Your body wants it." This is a sentence that came to me multiple times, like in my life, that my body wants Ashtanga. So like, one time happened, I don't care for it. Another time happened, I don't care for it. And then this girl that had a beautiful practice comes out of the room and goes, "Do you practice Ashtanga?" And I'm like, "No," as in, I don't want to. She's like, "Ooh, your body really wants it." So like I go home, like I do all these research about Ashtanga, and I stumble upon the iconic Patabi Joyce video cueing these 6 mega yogis into the primary series. And I remember watching, like I just was missing popcorn. I remember watching it like the most interesting movies I've ever seen. Like, look at what these people can do. Oh my gosh. And so it was really short after that I quit my job, and I grabbed my whatever 401k I had and did a little research about how to get into teacher training in India. Now, I really wanted to go to Mysore. That's where Ashtanga was born. But in order for you to study at the Patabi Joyce Institute, there were so many requirements, and my body wanted it now. So I found the Abhijna School of Yoga in Kerala, Varkala, and it was a month-long training, and it really fit all the boxes on what I wanted to do, like immerse in it for a full month, in the land of yoga. I booked my flight with my sister going, "What are you doing? You pay a job. We have a mortgage. How are we going to pay our bills?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like, I know that it's going to be okay. I don't know, but I know that it's going to be okay." And so I went to India and I met teacher number 2, Mahesh Chandra, this Indian man who presented. I remember having my first one-on-one with him going, and he said, "You're about to experience a wonderful experience that words cannot describe. I'm about to give you immense knowledge." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Okay, now let's go." Yes, please. And I remember that there were 7 of us in this beautiful house with no furniture, but humongous house, no furniture, and that only four of us finished the program. It was pretty intense, yes, and that obviously made me feel like it was a piece of information that I love to tell to everybody. There's seven, only four of us. I'm one of the four, just so that we're clear. But it was intense, and it was really bold for me to like, I literally went to India for an Ashtanga teacher training without having practiced Ashtanga once.
Wow.
I don't want
Amazing.
to, I don't want to spoil anything, but I basically did the same thing when I went to advanced teacher training with Esac.
Wow.
But it connects me to
Cool.
that when
Interesting.
it connects me to that when you know. Like
Yeah.
when you know, like decision making is something that like mess with us, like all human beings. Some people are a little bit more like, "Right," like I'm more like this or both, or maybe I could do both. I wonder if I could just do both and no make no decisions. But like when you know, like when something is for you, the universe
Uh-huh.
supports it. Like I had multiple, I've been reassured about that multiple times in my life. And so here I am, I'm in India and I'm learning Ashtanga one day at a time. And he was really, really Indian strict. Like nothing that we were doing was even remotely remarkable, let alone like acceptable. Like he was just like, uh, uh, yeah, good. And every time I would get heated or had question, he would go, typical American, to which I would reply, I'm Italian. And he would go, typical Italian. There was no way out. There was no way out. But that's when I learned, like, the traditional way to teach Ashtanga, and I know that I'm just saying it for people that are listening, is by counting in Sanskrit, is by, calling out the posture in Sanskrit. And that was something that I just love. It was poetry. So I took a lot of pride in like learning all these numbers, like learning all these posture in Sanskrit, and the hunger kept growing. The more information he was giving me, the more information I wanted. And so like our day started at 5 with our karma chores. We had to go to the shala, clean the shala. We're in India. I remember this one day, it's my turn to clean the shala, and I walk into the sacred space and there's blood everywhere because two dogs had gotten into the shala and had this ginormous fight. So Mahesh comes and he like lights all these incense, chant all this stuff. He makes me clean it a certain way and then, allow the other people to come. It was like that kind of environment. Like the shala was like on the outside. It was a piece of concrete, and all around us, there was all these like banana trees and all these like palm trees. And I remember being there in August. And so it was the monsoon time. So most of the time, like we're walking in the rain, still in the dark to the shala. But the most beautiful thing for me was that by the time practice was done, the sun was shining. And I remember lying in Shavasana with the sun on my face thinking, you're welcome, world. Because you do six sun salute A, six sun salute B. It's like, I made that happen. It was raining. I salute the sun. It comes to greet me back. No ego, just doing my service. And so at the end of it, there was the morning practice. He would send us home, and there was something about Mahesh. He knew. Like he would make me do shavasana for 10 minutes, nothing more, nothing less, at least 10 minutes. And then I would wake up, like my body started to like, I did not need a walk. Like I would lie there, and then I knew that it was about 10 minutes. I would get up, and he would go, don't go home and eat. Don't eat right away. And I'm like, yes, yes. I would go home and eat like pineapple this big, like, and mangoes, like, my mango face. And he just like kind of knew. He would tell me like, don't go home and eat. Like, don't, like, your body is like so clean right now. Like, don't do it. Uh, he would know if we didn't shower before practice. He would not touch us. You know how physical is that? He would not touch us. He'd be like, shower next time. But the water was always cold, like cold water. Like it was that kind of life. Like I don't want to say that it's the ashram life. It was not really ashram life, but it was like really intense training that we would have to come back at 2 for all sorts of questioning. He would question us on Sanskrit names, Sanskrit counts, philosophy, and then he would teach us philosophy, and then he would take us all to this cliff to meditate for like 30 minutes at a time. I remember being in front of this cliff, like only the sound of the waves, and be like, wow, if I fall now, I'd probably die, and all these people are meditating and nobody would even know. And the ocean is just going to keep like crashing against this against these rocks. And it was like really profound stuff. And then I would open my eyes surrounded by these dogs, which is in where I was staying, like dogs were a subculture and they were cute to look at, but like don't get near them because they will growl at you. But during meditation, they will come and sit with us in peace. So that's really like, isn't that, I don't know, like all these things like really touched me to the point when I was done with training, I was definitely not ready to go home. Met a girl named Dominica there in the training. She was one of the four. And we decided to go to Mysore. That was the only time that Mahesh looked very protective towards us because he knew that we could not go to practice with Patabi Joyce or Sharad in this case. And so he knew that we were going to end up in the little shalas that are around the Joyce's Institute. And he's like, don't just go to any, like I'm going to give you some names because that kind of adjusting in India is beyond forceful. Like they twist your body to the point where like you cannot speak back. I remember being in my Chasana D, like that super mega twist and just going, and my teacher whispering, did you have enough? And I go, yes. I couldn't even reply to him that like, please don't adjust me anymore. But we spent another couple of weeks there and, you know, just, it's everywhere. Like, you know, books would find me. Like I got like Sanskrit books and I got philosophy books. And that was just like things that I like my leisure time, like it was spent into, right. What else is there? Mostly it was this, where does it come from? Who created this? Who is the genius behind this? And so like there's no end to that. And so like I kept looking for it and looking for it. You know, the Yoga Sutra is that little tiny text and it's like, there's no asana. Who created this? Beautiful, right? Like beautiful way of living. Like, you know, the idea of memorizing these slokas, the idea of memorizing these little sentences, these poetry sentences, this like cryptic way of living. There's no asana. Where is this coming from? And that's what really like kept firing my curiosity and made me move further and further into these intense training that I end up doing. And again, the universe supported me into it, allowing me to meet all the teachers, all the wonderful people that I met.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Okay, so all of this, and then what was your next big training? How did you get introduced into Jedi Fight Club stuff? Kim
So
Tang, competition, everything.
So I go
Rada,
back
yeah.
to, oh yes, Radha. So I come back from India and, I'm managing the studio and I'm living a happy life. Only my Ashtanga practice gets forgotten. Laura was not interested in it. It was, the community is her shy community is evolving in a completely different way. And I leave the Ashtanga practice to the side to resume my hot yoga practice and resume the service, which I was told by Laura right away, like the minute I signed up for her training, she was like, are you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, super sure. Your practice will never be yours again. And I'm like, why? Like, of course, practice is fine. If I'm not teaching, I'm practicing. It's my own. No, because of course, and I'm thinking that you're going to relate to it. When you're a teacher and you're practicing, all eyes on you. Like, people are watching you and you want your student to just look at themselves, but like they won't. Like, you know, you're in the room and like you come with a certain energy and there is a little bit of an expectation maybe at some point that it's up to you to pick up on it or not, or to take on or not, but it's not your practice anymore because what you speak, they want to know if you also embody. And so I came back and I went back into service, which I had some resistance to. Like I wanted to be students. I did not want to be teacher, but now, you know, the other jobs are gone and I have to make a living with this because I invested some cash into it. Like I just coming back from India, that was not a cheap, you know, trip, and I extended that trip. So it was time to like get down and it was that, you know, if you receive it, you cannot be stingy with it. You got to give it back. Otherwise it gets stagnant. Like if you learn something like this, I think it's true for anything. If you learn something, you cannot be like, oh, because knowledge is power. And so you're like, I have this power. But if you keep it for yourself, it dies. Like only when you give it, because knowledge is resilience. And so it needs to be resilience. It needs to keep perpetuating. It needs to keep moving forward. And if you keep
I
it for
love
yourself, it dies with you.
Yeah,
Where's it gonna
like
go?
a fire. It's like you've got to air it out. It can't just be
Or
for you or it's gonna die.
yeah.
I
And
love that.
so I love that too, but I did not love it at that time. I was like, dang it. I just want to keep learning more. And like, who's going to teach me? And if I teach it to you, it's like such an output of energy. And, but I felt like I reached something, like, you know what I mean? I wasn't in the rat race anymore. I loved my life. I loved my job. And most especially, you know, back to Laura, I would go to the studio and, you know, Laura would welcome me saying, are you ready to be the best part of our community's day? Like, that's what we were, like, smile on your face, greet them a certain way, let them, you know, let them vent if they need to vent, you know, hold space in a certain way, allow them in the room clear minded and be the best part of their day. And it's like, wow, what better thing to do than like uplift an entire community, you know? And, in that environment, I met Tom. And Tom then becomes my husband. And it was very quick. It was very, very quick. Like I meet Tom, 3 months later, we're living together, and 6 months later, we're married. And our honeymoon is in Palm Springs, California. Tom is quite my senior. He's 30 years older than I am. And so he spent our honeymoon playing golf in the capital of golf, which is Palm Springs. And so I spent my honeymoon playing yoga. And that's where I met Kim Tang, the most charming human being I've ever met. Hmm.
Charming, I bet, but also the most alien like I'm like her asana is
She's definitely a
amazing.
shapeshifter. Yes, she's super amazing. I remember walking into her studio, and right at the desk, there were these photo albums. And so as I'm doing check-in, I cannot help it. Like I'm looking at this photo, and it's like all sorts of like all sorts of beautiful different bodies in the most deep posture that I've never even like, what are these postures? What is this? This is not a Bikram studio. Like what is going on? And I remember taking class by one of her teachers, and she saw my practice. She saw some devotion into the way I move. She saw some talent into the way I backbend, and she said, if you can come tomorrow, please come. The studio owner will be here. Her name is Kim Tang. You're going to love her. And she could not have been like more right. Like I took this class with Kim Tang, and she was just like, okay, you, I don't think she even knew my name. Okay, you try to do this. I knew you could. And then, okay, you try to do this other thing. I knew you could. And so after class, I remember her just going, oh my, if you were mine, the things we could do. And I'm like, okay, I just got married, but forget that. I want to be yours. Let me know how.
Time.
I was really like,
How do I rehearse
okay.
this thing? Yours, Kim. Yes. Oh,
It was
that's
just
so.
kidding. That was just a trial marriage. You are the chosen one. Tell
Wait,
me, how can I
so
be
wait,
yours?
you had never heard of her before you showed up
No,
at her
no,
studio? That's
no.
crazy.
Destiny, karma,
That's a
yeah.
synchronicity. Yeah,
But
that's a true.
that is my definition of karma, as in karma with the root kri, action. I just kept acting while on the other side of the country, Kim was keep acting so that we could get ready to meet each other.
Oh, that's so helpful and inspiring for me to hear. I love that.
Yes, yes. And, you know, and like I could say that, right? Like when the student is ready, the teacher appear. I think I was ready. I think that
Hmm.
Kim was ready. I was ready, like that we were ready. And so it took me, after that, I spent the rest of my honeymoon, you know, with her. And then I went back to Pennsylvania. But I missed her. I missed her terribly. And I kept talking about her, and, you know, my practice wasn't the same. And my body really wanted those kind of cues, like that kind of engagement. You know, I don't know if you ever took a class with Kim Tang, but it is an experience, like, you know, like that experience that has knowledge in it. You know, like in that experience, you really get to take notes about yourself. And like she reminds you that it's only real for that day, in that moment, at that time. And so like it enriched the experience. Like she makes you meditate. Like it is an open eye moving meditation for 90 minutes. And so I really just wanted to go back. And Tom has been, you know, a great supporter in my life. So he's like, how should we do this? And I'm like, by moving there. Like, we got to move there. And he's like, how do you know that? Like, you know, how do you know that she doesn't say this to all the students that have, body talent. And I'm like, I don't. And he's like, oh, well, how do you know that, like, that she has like another 20 students? And I'm like, I don't, and I don't care. Like, I'm good to be one of 100. Like, if I'm one of Kim Tang hundreds, I am lucky. Like, we gotta get back there. And so it took Tom 9 months to move us there. And so we did. We moved there. And at that time, Kim used to call it playtime. She would teach, and then I would stay with her for playtime. And, I just remember that she saw my talent into back bending, and she wanted to put technique onto that talent. And so we started with floor bow. And I remember, I don't know how many sets of floor bow I did. And for every set, there was like another point, like very, I don't want to say meticulous, but very specific. And so at some point, I'm like, okay, my feet are cramping and my legs are cramping. In my mind, this was cue to her of like, I think our playtime is over. And she's like, oh, yes, of course, of course. She leaves the hot room, comes back with coconut water. And I'm like, oh my God, this woman is so loving. I'm thinking that we're like wrapping it up. And she's like, let me know when you're ready. Oh, for more. We're going to keep going. Oh, okay. We're going to keep going.
Wait,
Okay.
and so to be clear, she taught Bikram classes, yeah?
At that
And
time,
so you would say you would take her, like when you first took her class, it was through a 26 posture hot class,
correct.
and then you would stay for
She was a
playtime.
studio owner. She was studio owner. Like when I met her, I mean, I think that I don't know. I don't want to speak too much for Kim. Like everything that you say about Kim is limiting. She's like a symbol. She has no words. But um, I think that at that time, like she was identifying as studio owner, as in a community leader. Like she had a community and she was uplifting everybody and expanding everybody. In the way of let me help you understand what you want so that I can help you get to what you want. Because not everybody wanted to backbend like I did, and she does not want everybody to backbend like we do. But people with injury, I can help. She could help that. People that wanted to deepen their practice like me could help me. Like she was really like she was very eclectic in her teaching style, but she would start always from the Bikram class. Yes.
Beautiful. It is
Hmm.
such that 26 postures class is such a beautiful healing modality, but also sort of a diagnostic tool. Like you can see
Exactly.
somebody's body and you could be like, oh, look, a back bend.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And so I'm in California for like a couple months, and I remember going to practice, eager as always, and finding Kim outside of the studio door, sitting down, because Kim is like a gypsy queen. Like she looks like a like super mega queen, but she's a nomad. She's like whatever. She's super chameleon adaptable. So she's like bare feet, like always, like sitting down in front of her studio, and she's like, step into my office. She loves to say that. Step into my office. And I'm like, okay, we're sitting on the floor. And she's like, I did not tell this to anybody yet, but I'm selling the studio. And I'm like, oh my God, I just moved here for you. I couldn't even say this out loud. Like, but she saw it. Like, she saw it in my eyes. I'm like, I just moved here for you. And you just sold your studio. Where are we going to go? What am I going to do? And she just went, don't worry. I got you and I got us. I have plans. And so there was like at that point without knowing, like I knew that it was going to be me and her. And she had her own little, like we started to practice in the most amazing places. And it was like, I don't even know, like it was everything. We practiced in spas, inside of like, steam rooms and saunas. We practiced at gyms. Like she built her own little yoga studio inside of her home. She called it the giving room. And, we started to travel. We started
So
to
did she
travel
stay in
together.
Palm Springs? Did she stay
Hmm?
in Palm? Did she stay in Palm Springs?
She stayed in Palm Springs. She sold the studio and just started because of that, as a studio owner, she was limited to that community. And at some point, I think that she wanted a bigger out. I don't know, like, I don't want to talk for her, but I think that maybe she wanted a bigger outreach, or she was ready for a bigger outreach. Cause I think that she had all these invitations and she was like, yeah, that's going to be, I'll do it. At some point I'll do it. But when do you do it? when you are the face of a community, when can you really like leave the studio? And so, I think that she decided that she was ready to travel the world. And like, I was the lucky one to do it with her.
Wow.
Yeah. So
So
I got to
have you
travel.
got into competitions with her?
Yeah, it's weird. I kind of don't remember, but I remember this. I remember being in a super steaming hot tub in a hotel and her saying to me, okay, so competition deadline is, in a couple of months. Are you doing it or not? And I remember thinking that yoga is non-compete. And like however, like if you make yoga a sport, then yoga loses its like its spirituality. It loses its, I remember thinking that. But wow, like her and like the fact that she competed and like stepping into her half of her footprints. I don't want to sound arrogant and sound like, yes, okay, let's do it. I mean, what am I like, that's another thing that Kim used to say. You got to spend your time doing something. And I was spending a lot of time with her and I was spending a lot of time training. And so then at some point, it's inevitable that you ask yourself, like, don't I have anything better to do? Like, like, could I be doing something different? Like, why am I doing this? And then when you put a date and a deadline on a posture that you want to get, then things get spicy and exciting. And not, I mean, to me, training is spicy and exciting no matter what. It's like, I just love to move my body. But to put that deadline on it, it's like extra spices, definitely extra spices on it. And so that's how I decided. I think that was a mistake on my part because I really did it for her, and you cannot compete. And she did tell me that. Like this was all on me. Like, I did it for her because I just I didn't want to impress her, but I don't know what I wanted to do, but I did it for her. And, I never felt like Kim was not proud of me. I never felt like Kim loved me less or, I did decide at some point not to compete and nothing has changed. Nothing changed between me and her. But I think that I did it for her and it wasn't the right reason. That's on me though. But I still enjoyed it and it still like was a huge platform for expansion and it was, such a learning device for me. Like there was so many opportunities for Kim to teach me things outside of asana through the way I was handling practices and like my personal life, my private life. And so, I regret nothing.
Yeah. My gosh,
Yeah.
I feel like that's how, well, I mean, I don't know how I first heard of you. It was probably on Instagram, but yeah, I definitely knew of you before meeting you, and your postures are just so like a symbol in themselves. Like you said about Kim, what can you say about Kim? But she's a symbol in herself. I think that's a great the way that I look at you. It's just like your postures are a symbol in themselves. That's what I love also about this practice is that it's like, yeah, the postures, the physical asana is like this beautiful, reverent thing that we build. And sometimes people build them and they become so reverent. They become teachings in themselves, like that
It's body
are for
prayer.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Um, in regard to competition, do you have anything to say about, a lot of people don't understand or they think it's just totally wild. Do you have anything to say about to the naysayers about competition? I mean, yeah, just anything to say.
I do think that it's totally wild. I think that it's wild, but I think that there's a misconception in the sense that when I tell people that I competed or that I compete, I thought that yoga was non-competition. But to be honest with you, like yoga starts from India and the competition come exactly from where yoga comes from. Like there has been competition in India for forever. The only thing is that women were not allowed. It's like strictly like a man thing. And so, we bring it to the Americas and we open it to all the sexes in all sorts of ways. And I think that um, if you start competing with anybody else that is not you, that the fun, I can only speak from my experience. And I do think that I met so many people through the USA Yoga platform. And again, like, Kim is at the root. But I met so many friends, like, women like me, men like me that just like want to test themselves and their limitations. And at some point I thought that if yoga is a science, when you step on that X, that's the time of truth. Is your theory about you right? That's the experiment. You're about to get the result on the experiment in those 3 minutes that you perform. That thought evolved, and it just became like an offering. It just became a gift. Like Kim used to say that when you compete, your life goes out of balance. And it was true for me for a while until I decided that is not, if I compete, that is not how I want to compete. Because yoga is balance and harmony. And so when I bow to the judges, I want to say, hi, I am a sister. I am a wife. I am a friend. I am a yoga teacher. I am a yoga practitioner. I have a whole life, but I prepared these 3 minutes for you to show you the health that comes from living a yogic life. But USA Yoga Sports Federation. Me included, so some of the people that you get on stage are athletes. I am one of them, like, you know what I mean? Like we become athletes. And so the real juggle is between those two. Like, you want to get a certain posture. So obviously you cannot practice 3 times a week. But what you're offering is 3 minutes of balance, strength, flexibility performed with breath. And so this year I got the privilege to like follow a couple of the athletes as they were preparing for this year competition. And I started with a Jedi Fight Club in May, and I know that you're going to ask me about that, but I started by leading a Jedi Fight Club in Santa Clarita in preparation for the pre-qualifiers that were happening on May 11th. So like a week before we start this very intense training that is Jedi Fight Club to prepare these people to perform in front of the screen. The pre-qualifiers were online on May 11th. And I had, I think, like 5 competitors with me. I don't want to call myself their coach. I just had the privilege like to practice alongside of them and have more experience than them. But I'm so proud, not that it matters, but I'm so proud of all of them, by the way. One of the girls that I like to use as an example is Mallory, because Mallory was a local student, and when she found out that I was doing a Jedi, she's like, oh my God, like finally like a Jedi in my home studio. I'm so doing it. And I'm like, hey, how do you feel about like competing? And she's like, oh my God, I'm nowhere ready. Like I just had a child 18 months ago. And I'm like, you are so perfect to compete. And she's like, no, I'm not ready. And I'm like, how about like, we have no expectation. We just find postures that you're really comfortable with and that you can demonstrate. And that is who I want to take on. That's who I want to escort on stage. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a mama. I just had a child, by the way, 18 months ago. Here's what I got to do. Here's what I have to offer. No ego, like, but just like, here is what consistent practice does. There's women that have like C-section where they go, like they have babies and all that stuff, work, like schedule, like, big busy lives. And yet like, I am balanced through my yoga practice. And she had a certain routine for the pre-qualifier. She got invited to nationals, and she already like within a span of like a month and a half, she went from doing headstand to tiger. She changed her she definitely like put depth into her posture, and at that point it was passion. She's like, what else can I do? It was curiosity, and she did not compete against anybody else. I can assure you that. Her competition was against herself. And she didn't even compete. Like it was no competition. She's like, wait a minute, I get to do this? Like how much better can my life get? Wait, I got the support of Giselle. How much better can my life be? Okay, I got the support of this other teacher. Oh my God. Like everything
Wow.
that went
The
her
mind
way.
just totally
Mm-hmm.
shift.
It was a total expansion for her. That to me is
Wow.
competing. That to me is a good way of competing. And I don't want to say that.
Cool. Yeah, it's like a mystical tool to like evolve spiritually, to evolve your mind. Yeah, you change.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, her consciousness was already like that. She just like needed somebody to be like, hey, do that. And she's like, really? And so then she did, she just needed a little push. We met once a week, and like every week, like she was just big smile on her face, like had like, she just like was, it grounded her. Some people get off balance, like, and instead, like, it grounded her. Like, I would just want to, one other example of a good competitor in my mind, and everybody's a good competitor. There's stepping on your mat, whether it's on the axe of a mat or like in a hot room, there's no wrong reason. Whatever reason brings you to do something that brave needs to be, not needs to be, like, it deserves acknowledgement in a positive way in my mind. Even me doing it for Kim, like, you know what I mean? It was out of love. I'm like, I'm going to do this because I am Kim Tang student, like it was just like pure love, pure joy. But Katie Hugendin, like severe rheumatoid arthritis, and this girl started to compete years ago. She would score 0 on so many posture because her body is shaped in a certain way that certain posture is just not available to her. She just did not take no for an answer. Her routine this year was flawless. It was just beautiful. And like the level of difficulty kept increasing year by year. That is consciousness. That is consciousness. And so, yeah, like I think that, is there politics in this game? I think so. Can you get upset about it? Yes. Are the scores right or wrong? I don't know. But is that like something to watch? Oh yeah. And is that something that deserves respect? Absolutely. Like I respect every single one of those humans that decided I am going to do this. And yeah. And so I don't know, like, I think that it's karmic. I competed, and then I didn't have fun anymore in it. And so like I stopped competing. Like it wasn't igniting my fire anymore.
But you
I
somehow
had,
spill it over into all these other people now and help them. It's cool. It's like your
it,
devotion naturally is spilling over. And I think that's what happens with teaching. It's like, or that's how it should, it's like you should be so obsessed that you can't help it but be like, yeah, compete, yeah, you just had a baby. Come on, I'll show up for anything you'll show up for. Come on, let's do it. It's like you can't help but serve when you love it.
well, I never met anybody that likes this game more than Kim Tang. I remember in 2020, and this is during COVID, I got invited to the World Championship, but at this point it's happening um, online, and Kim has purchased this beautiful property. I think it's called the Yakashala in the desert, like close to Joshua Tree. Jordan Lydia was another one that was invited, and Kim was like, let's all compete from the shot. Like she invited all the Americans of all of all ages, to compete at the Shala. And boy, it was just like, when you're in college and you go home from college, it was like the same exact, like we got there and she just got us. Food, nourishment, I got you guys. This, got you guys. Moment of quietness, got you guys. Moment of doubt, step into my office. Like it was just unbelievable. And like she loves the game it was like Christmas. It was like Christmas. It's like, everybody's here. Are you ready for the game? Like when you go to Christmas and every family have their own game. Well, this was our game. And she set it up for us so nice. There was like a screen outside of what was our stage in case the athlete wanted to be alone on stage. She had chairs in front of the stage in case we wanted support live it was just like amazing. Now I'm going to say that I don't have that. Like I don't have that. I love that. Like but I cannot create that. I just was, I don't know if Kim taught me or if I have it, but like the human potential is what I've learned to look at. And like, we're all competitors, it's about, it's about like understanding that we're all worthy of this, that we're all worthy of like fullest expression of ourselves, whatever that is, and and Kim is very good at holding space for you to figure it out on the X. Like I'm not, I mean, I mostly work with Kim. I had another coach, Deepak Bardwaj, also, amazing human being, amazing teacher, that nobody loves the game and knows how to play the game like Kim does.
when you talk about the game, it's funny because I know what you mean, but it's funny. It's like we're talking about competition, but we're talking about a game that has nothing to do with how that competition go. Like it involves the competition because the competition is a tool for the larger game, but it's like this game. That's what you're talking
Yes.
about, right? You're not
Oh,
talking
yes.
about the game of who wins the medal. You're talking about
Exactly.
this game. Can you
Yes.
do it?
Yes.
Can you do it?
Yes. And I mean, if there's that, like, you know what I mean? Like, Kim has no doubt that you can do it. And sometimes is is really cool, and sometimes, like, you know, it can be dangerous because you cannot rely on her to know that you can do it. You know, she can only tell you that you can do it so much. Like, then you need to know that you can do it. You know, falling out of, like, you know, feeling defeated, that is on you because you can do it. You know, feeling like a winner or a loser, that is feeling like you won something or you lost something, that is on you. And I think that is that. I think that at some point I had some expectation in competing because I won medals. You know, I went home with medals a couple of times, like multiple times I went home with medals, and that I don't know, like, you know, it hurts me to say that I could build an ego, but it built a persona. You know, there was other athletes going, are you competing this year? And I'm like, oh yeah, I am competing, you know, so I don't know,
Well, there's
but
something that continuing to like build these beautiful and reverent things that we continue to build. There's something, yeah, even sure. I mean, the ego, it lives, but just like building this reverent thing, I think that's a worthy investment. I just
but
think
it's
it's
that I think that you know, to speak about another teacher that I adore. One year I was getting ready to compete, and I'm at my annual Jedi Fight Club, and like Esac said something like this. This is not verbatim, but I'm pretty close to it, and it's like, don't fall into the illusion that you have something to lose. If you step on stage thinking that you have something to lose, which is the expectation, I won last year, I better be winning this year. I got a medal last year, I better be getting a medal this year, or anything else, you know, value depending on this, or, you know, that is an illusion. That is Maya, you know, and like stepping on stage, knowing that your value does not depend on these 3 minutes,
wow, and
but
that's
it's a
the
tricky,
game, baby.
because it's a tricky situation, because when you spend hours and hours and hours and hours, not just like practicing asana, but straight out training like an athlete to achieve certain shapes, then it's kind of like, maybe I do have something to lose, all those hours that I just spent there. But like, to know that nothing is lost, like to know that like every single action is a learning experience, is I mean, now I really do feel like I'm speaking like Isak, is self mastery. Like, you want to move into that kind of self mastery, like, you know, your value does not depend on it. That was my big lesson. And like, I think that that was another reason why I really stepped in with confidence into the pre-qualifier for this year and participated in the pre-qualifiers with, like, you know, my fellow Jedis and students and friends. And it was a beautiful experience.
Beautiful.
Definitely. Yes, definitely.
I
Definitely.
feel like there's something that I want to at least speak to in regard to female teachers. I think you have such a pure heart of devotion to the point where I'm like, man, hell yeah, I would just learn anything from Giselle. That's like who I
Oh,
want to learn from. But just like but you carry that because obviously you've met teachers that carry this burning devotion for their practice, and it's like just falling off them to you, to me, to whoever. But it's just like, I think it's beautiful because you've been so sincere in your path, and the path is brought you such incredible teachers, masculine and feminine, but it's just like so beautiful to bring to light these devotees that are women, which I want to speak to as well, because you're about to hold space with two incredible women for retreat opportunities or training opportunities, right? Jasmine, I
oh
want to talk
yes.
about, and then also Erin. You're holding space with two other incredible women and ways. And of course, men and women, we always train together. I have men and women teachers, and who cares, whatever. But like, it's powerful. It's powerful, and I just want to bring reverence to it. Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
feminine Shakti that's happening.
Definitely, definitely. So yes,
I think it's beautiful. It's powerful.
for sure. I get to do a teacher training, a E84 yoga teacher training with Jasmine in November. It's super special for so many reasons. Jasmine is a fellow yogi, definitely a teacher of mine. And we train together in so many occasions, and we just work so well together. When I am yin, she's yang. When she's yang, I am yin. We actually get that feedback all the time when we do things together, how, we're sun and moon for each other every time we need to. And she has worked for and with Esac for so many years, like I don't even know. And so as the E84 yoga teacher training started, she kind of like went to every single one of them until the format has changed. So now we're still looking at a 2-year program, as you wish to do, but now it's like formatted more like, I like to think of it like in a college way. Like you can take courses. Like the first course is what we're offering in November from the 3rd to the 16th in Palm Desert at the Coachella Yoga Therapy and Wellness. You can sign up on Esac Garcia website. And we recommend teachers to come to this 2 weeks training where you get the first 3 of 6 intermediate outlines. And these outlines are tools for you to use to learn the more complex sequence that is 84 classical asana. So the intermediate classes are absolutely based on the 26 and 2. And yes, and we are I'm mostly super excited to do it in my hometown. Right, because like I still live there, and that's Kim's old studio, and so I feel like it's such a like beautiful coming
Circle
in.
coming around.
Yeah, yes, for
Love
sure.
that. Okay, so who should come to this training? It's hot yoga teachers, Bikram teachers,
So
26 teachers. That's who should come,
26
or
and 2
can
teachers recommend. I think that if you're a yoga teacher and you're interested in getting into that hot yoga culture, you're welcome. If you're a Bikram or 26 and 2 teacher, then this is definitely your dish. Like this is definitely what you want to do. But this is kind of like an event that it's open to everybody, because whether you want to do the 2 weeks training or you want to just wet your feet into what the 84 yoga is all about, we have something for you. Within the 2 weeks of the teacher training, there's 1 week that we call immersion. So if you're not a yoga teacher yet, you don't know about us, the 84 yoga yet, then come for 1 week and practice twice a day these outlines to see if this is your jam, because we're coming at you in multiple times throughout the years. For example, I'm here in Italy. I'm talking to the Rome studio owner to see if we can do the next one there. So definitely, like, there's multiple opportunities to do this training. If you're not ready for the 2 weeks, you can definitely do 1 week at this time. So there's something for everybody. But I do recommend the teacher training to be done by teachers.
great. I think, I mean, I'm just considering I would, if it was me, considering, just the yoga industry, it's like, what sets a yoga professional apart from other teachers is what I would think a lineage based repertoire to teach from. So it's like, this is Ghosh yoga. This comes from straight up India. It's like Ghosh, which is the advanced class, which y'all are teaching this intermediate class based off this advanced Ghosh 84 asana, is like where Bikram came from. So it's like, I love that you guys are opening it to not just Bikram teachers, because it gives other practitioners, maybe that practice other styles, or maybe that just love yoga and haven't really landed anywhere yet, to maybe come and develop a palette for um, these lineage-based postures, and have a grounded education to pull from. and to teach from.
Definitely. And I love what you just said. And I think that Esac will love it too because of this. Like, tradition is super important for Esac, and like his teachers are super important for him. And so he is very meticulous in teaching us the way he was taught. And that is because like he followed Bikram, and he followed like the lineage and Emmy Cleaves, like and the people that have taught and brought to us the 84 classical asana very closely and very with a lot of devotion, and with a lot of discipline. And so he's very, I want to say almost strict. He's very strict in the way he wants us to get to know the 84 asana. So the 2-year program might not be for everybody, but one of the things that he's trying to do is to not let that die, and to allow everybody to be able to practice 84 asana. He says this multiple times, like, forget about the posture, learn to address the body part, and then the posture may or may not come again tomorrow, try again. And I think that that's what makes me follow Esac around the world. Like, I literally follow that man around the world, and it's because of that. Like, he's almost on a mission, and I feel honored if I can be in any way, shape, or form part of that mission. If I can, that is true service. To not let this die, or to not keep this, right now is full circle conversation, to not keep this a secret, but to be able to share it and give it. And to give it to not just like the body talented. Movement is life, no matter how you choose to move. Like, learn to move with consciousness, learn the body parts, and move from there.
Gosh, I love it because it's so, I know you are so physical and you're so spiritual, but I can tell in this interview how everything you do physically, like you talked about action, like, and I do karma, action, like at the root being action, like you just do, and you learn through the heat of doing it, that tapas, or
Definitely.
like that devotion of just like, I'm showing up, I'm doing it, I'm going
Definitely.
on my honeymoon, I'm going to go to yoga. Oh my gosh, who's Kim Tang? Or just continue it, and then, okay, competition, sure, why not? You say yes, I will too, and then it's just, yeah, it continues. You can see how they're hand in hand, whereas that
Definitely.
they're hand in hand,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
game. The game is not this physical game.
Yeah. No.
Not these physical
No.
things, like
No.
not the physical postures. The game, even when you're talking about the game with competing, the game
Yeah.
is, can
Yeah.
I not, can I compete and lose and not lose a thing, and
Yes.
not lose a thing?
Wow. Well said. Definitely well said.
Well, you said
Well
it. You
said.
said something like that, but it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
I do want to give some reverence before we talk about you and Aaron's immersion in Hawaii. So, hey, everyone should, all yoga teachers, sign up for this. This yoga, it's a Jedi Fight Club training, E84
E84
immersive
and Jedi
training.
Fight Clubs. Yeah, so E84 and Jedi Fight Clubs are two different things. They're two
Okay.
different babies. I am just very lucky that I get to be what we call like a Jedi leader and an E84 yoga leader.
Okay.
But Jedi Fight Club, it was born for people that wanted to compete, like that wanted to take it to the extreme and test their boundaries, and then really, what does it mean to be limitless? And so that training is now a 1-week training where we practice twice a day. And then in between, there's a lot of what we call homework drills. We pick body parts or postures, and obviously, like as Isa grows, the way like the week is shaped kind of like grows, and we grow with him, and it's really beautiful. But that is Jedi. E84 yoga is specifically the continue. Like, I feel like it's almost like a continuation of the 26 and 2. Like, it's like, what's after the 26 and 2? Like, how do you move from the 26 postures to breathing exercise, which by the way are in the 84 classical asana sequence? How do you move from that to something that is as complex as 84? Well, Isaac jumped in, and I think that I think that Jasmine and the rest of his team has a lot of that supported him a lot in it. well, with these 6 outlines and this 2 years program. What Esac is interested more than like you putting your leg over the head is self-mastery. Like what he invites us all to be is like the best, highest version of ourselves. So that's another reason why I follow him around the world. And so, for example, that 2 year program, it took me 7 years to do it. And I would be like, Esac, when can I do this now training? When can I do that training? It had a specific format. And he would go, gee, what's your rush? What's your rush, G? And I'm like, you're right. I'm doing this for the rest of my life. Like, what was my rush? I don't know. There is no rush. Like, here I am, still teaching it, still doing it, still learning from him. Like, now I have a piece of paper hanging on my wall. So, like, go.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so
Yeah.
come to the 2 week if you're a teacher and you're wanting to learn to teach this, or come to the 1 week of the 2 and immerse yourself. That's one thing that I want to say also is like, for this Jedi Fight Club E84 group, like under Esac Garcia, it's like these people practice asana. That's what they do. They go and they practice, and then they give you homework about practicing, and then you show up and practice. I've not done it myself, but I've heard, and I want to be a part of it. Maybe in November I'll come. But
You should.
it's so physical practice based. But as this interview is showing, it's like it's because we're practicing on something way deeper than the physical. I love that. But one thing I want also to bring to the forefront is just a little bit of time for you to talk about Rada, because I know you give reverence to her as a teacher as well. I know the Garcias are a prominent family in your life. If you want to talk a little bit about
I think I'm gonna blush,
her.
but like I think I'm gonna blush now, but I feel like I'm an honorary Garcia myself. No, but honestly, like I adore all of them, like literally all of them, like the entire family. Like I just like my heart to them. Primarily, Isak opened so many doors for me with like I want to, with a non-attachment. Like it was just like, I think that door is open. Do you want to step? He doesn't hold, like Kim was very nurturing and very, Isak is like a boy. He's like, there's a door. Like, I think it's open for you. Go get it. And I'm like, well, aren't you going to come with me? No, absolutely not. You go get it. Like, he's like that. And like, multiple times, it's like, it would be great if you come. Are you coming too? No, you go. And it's like you said, like, the feminine versus, the masculine energy. But again, like he opened so many doors for me. And one of them was the door to the chance to this internship that I had with Rada that then really, became this like mentorship that I had from her, and like now this friendship, although the mentorship, like, with Rada never ends. But I
So
was
wait,
at the
for our listeners, could you explain who Radha is and why she's reverent in the Bikram yoga world?
Yes, Rada Garcia is the owner of Boulder Bikram Yoga, which is the 4th Bikram studio that was opened in the United States. And she was she was part of the very first Bikram training. Like there's no more, like I've never met an avant-garde, like a woman that is as avant-garde as this woman is. She is also the mother of 3 fierce human beings. That is Nika, Isak, and JJ. She likes to lead with that. I like to lead with the whole like businesswoman, like the triple Leo. And I got to meet her at her studio because some of my friends, JJ is one of them, were graduating the very first cohort of graduation. Jasmine was in it. My very good friend Beth Davis was in it. They were graduating the full program. I was a little bit resentful because I thought I was going to be part of that cohort, but like they were ready to graduate, and they had the very first E84 yoga immersion. So 2 classes a day. At that time, the format was 1 intermediate, 1 advanced for 7 days. If you get to do all 14 classes, you would get the money for the tuition back. How cool is that? I know, only Isak. I know.
Sign me up.
But I mean, it was a little bit of a like, or you could choose to put that, like you would double it if you put it towards your next training. So like, he was just like tempting you. So here I am, and like I'm doing this, and at this time, like I am in the program, and I'm very devoted to the program. But there's something about my 26 and 2 teaching that is messing with me because I'm having a lot of troubles outside of like when I left Pennsylvania under the wings of Kim, I would teach in many studios, but in California, nobody would let me teach Bikram because I was not Bikram trained. Nobody. They would let me teach like occasionally like some warm classes. I don't know the difference, but like they would not let me teach. They would not let me teach Bikram because I was not Bikram trained. And so, I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling empowered. Like, I'm under Esac's guidance. Like I'm doing this like classes, like I'm meeting so many people. I am a competitor. I'm winning states and regionals, but like nobody lets me teach 26 and 2. And then I'm about to leave this magical week of immersion, and Rada was looking for a teacher, for a traveling teacher to sub certain classes. And Esac has never heard me teaching 26 and 2, never. But he went to Rada and he's like, give that girl a chance. And Rada was like, she's not Bikram trained. And he's like, give her a chance, audition her. And I was like hours away from having to go to the airport. And Rada very certainly was like, you can teach, you can audition for me if you like. There is no pay. And I'm like, oh my God, really? Thank you. Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. So I teach this class and like, I'm super nervous. Like I'm sitting on the podium and like not moving. And then on my way to the airport, she calls me for feedback. Just to give you an idea of who Rada is, she called me for feedback on my way to the airport. And she was like, you can come back and teach for me. And I spent, like a couple months went by and I spent 8 weeks with Rada. They were so difficult. It was difficult and it was demanding, and I owe her so much. Like I just need to summarize it like that. She is a strong woman, and she took every single class I taught and she gave me feedback on every single class. She refined I don't know, maybe some stuff is to her liking, but when somebody has that kind of knowledge, like, her studios, she's just celebrated 30 years of studio, about to be 75 years old and she still wall walks. There's something there, you know what I mean? Her body retains the knowledge. Never mind all those years, all these teachers, all these people. And when she did the training, these are the pearls, like, that I get to have. Like when she got trained, there was no dialogue. That's another reason why she gave me a chance. She's like, you're not a parrot. Okay, I can work with you. And then like, I kept going back to her. Like the 8 weeks was just the beginning. Like, the following year I was back with her. It was so hard. But like, and then I'm like, I was getting excited when I was about to go back. My friends are like, do you remember how hard that was? And I'm like, yeah. And I loved it, right? And they're like, no, you didn't. Like, it was hard for you. Like, you were looking forward to come back. And I'm like, and now I'm looking forward to go back there. But
I want our listeners to understand, though, you going and studying with Rada, like, I don't think the general public understands, like, what that is in kind of like yogic terms. And it's like not where you're going to get a piece of paper saying you went through some accredited. No, this is somebody that studied right at the beginning with Bikram and has been teaching for so long. Like when you, like, I know what you mean when you went and it was hard. Like, I know because she probably made you scrub some floors or something. You know what I mean? Like she was teaching you more than just
yes,
physicality. She was
definitely
taking on a teacher role for you because she knew that you were hungry to learn something.
But like a mother teacher, like it's really like, I don't know if you ever saw Kill Bill, but she was like a little Pao Mei. You know what I mean? Like she was like very, I don't know, like I just remember that at some point my thing was that I wanted for her to just, no feedback, for her just to say, good job and nothing else. And so, yes, like, there was a little bit of everything. I was there to like serve the studio and I was there to serve the community and I was there to learn. And like everything was a privilege. It was already set, like, and done. Everything was a privilege. And I remember, just like cleaning the studio, going upstairs, like cleaning like the kitchen and like throwing away the garbage. And I even vacuum. And like now I'm sitting in my chair. And during that time, I was reading the Hatha Yoga Pradipika because Esac put me in charge of a little book club. And so I'm like living like in a yoga hut with a yoga teacher. I'm just feeling like I'm so immersed in the environment. And Rada comes home and she's like, and she has a smile on her face. I'm like, here it comes. Good job. I can already hear it. You left the gate to the garbage open, but don't worry. I closed it for you. But I owe her at like that. What? But you know, she's a little bit of a business card for me. Like when people are like, "Who'd you study with?" I'm like, Rada, Rada
Yeah,
Garcia. You know her? Yeah, first Bikram
absolutely. And
teacher
it's just like,
training.
I want people to understand too, it's like an opportunity to go one on one and teach under Rada or somebody in that vein is like way more potent of an opportunity than going to some 200-hour teacher training where you're going to get a certificate. I mean, that's
Hands
great. It's
down.
cool and all, but like this is like the real jewel. It's like the teachers, to continue on with the lineage. Yeah. And somebody that is actually going to teach you something, it's just cool. And a woman, like she
Yes.
raised her kids in this studio, and right, like didn't she raise her kids on her own with this and ran the studio? And
Definitely like a powerful human being. Like I love how you're like really girl power. Like I am too. Like she's a super powerful human being. She did it all. Like she had like a side hustle and the studio and was teaching classes and was raising kids and still, and like the beauty of it is that still is, like she really truly still is. And at 75, like it there is no other thing to say other than like, yeah, I want to, whatever she's eating, I'm eating it too.
yeah,
However
yeah,
she did it, I want to do it the same way. Yeah,
yeah. I
for
think
sure.
one
We love
thing,
you,
how I
Radha. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Oh, yeah, so sweet. I think one way I'm able to kind of identify with your relationship with Radha is, and I know you know Yasi Mage, but studying with Yasi and working with Yasi for 4 years was like, I mean, I call that Yasi University. Like I had to work with her, like, and I consider that time working with her, yeah, more potent than any piece of paper that I've earned, or you know what I mean, like
Yes.
everything I've earned, because just she's so intense about passing down what she wants to pass down, and she's sure about how she wants to do it. And I really needed to be her pupil for a while to get off the floor and get
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
beautiful that we still have these diamonds of teachers, these like pearls. I think of like pearls before swine. Like there are these pearls, you know these women and men, but it's like we don't even realize their beauty or their potency.
But I
A lot
think
of people
also
don't
this, and I think also this, and it's not because Isak is a male, but like Isak has gazillions of students. And the fact that I got to be one on one with Radha, one on one with Kim, one on one with Laura, was character forming in a way. Like, these three powerful women, like super different personalities, and but the one on one, like there is a Sanskrit word for that. It's parampara. The transmission is intimate there. It's like from knowledge to knowledge. And when you work with somebody like Radha that has like decades of knowledge, where you can really see the evolution. I mean, sometimes I have lunch with Radha and she's like, okay, I want to talk about yoga. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And she'll go like, I remember this one time where this was said this way and now it's said this way. And it's like, where do you get it from, Radha? Like, where is it? It's stored in your brain. And like, and the uniqueness of the fact that it is during lunchtime and it happens between me and her, you know,
hmm And once
that,
again, it's her way of giving her fire, or else the fire's going to go out. Like we circle back around at the beginning. It's like you had this passion that you had to keep air. You had to air it out. You had to keep
hmm
practicing. keep acting. But same with
Mhm.
Rada. It's like our teachers need students just as much as
Definitely.
in order for their so to be able to be like, okay, I want to talk yoga now, and to get that
Yeah.
transmission is so powerful. But it's like our teachers need it too. It's just like this
Yes.
beautiful like exchange.
Yes, and that is like one of Kim's favorite lesson, giving and receiving are one and the same.
Oh, beautiful.
I don't
Okay,
think I own
lastly,
that yet. I don't think I own that yet, but I definitely like I started to like rationally like, understanding it through what is happening like in my life, even just this, like, what we are doing feels so right, so cyclical, like giving and
mm-hmm.
receiving, like,
So
definitely.
true.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, what was the saying that giving and receiving are the
Are
same?
one and the same. That's it.
Yeah.
Like Kim had this like gift, like one of the many gifts of Kim is that big, big complex concept. If she has like the gift to narrow it down to like one single sentence that you can apply in multiple situation that is the same situation. Like giving and receiving are one and the same. Teaching and learning, one and the same. That's also Richard Feynman would say that. I don't know if you know that physicist. I'm reading 6 Easy Pieces right now, and he says something similar because knowledge finds its way. That's another reason why. What is the purpose of you keeping it? This movement, yoga movement, is an intelligent movement. It will find its way. If like people want to know who created the wall walk, and Esac says, well, Mary Jarvis, my teacher, created the wall walk. I don't know. I read a book called The Yoga Tradition of the Mysore Palace. Well, there's a picture there of somebody doing a wall walk. That's older than Mary Jarvis. Who created? I think I created the wall walk because I was in India trying to drop back for my dropbacks, and all of a sudden my room has no furniture. So I'm like, maybe I can use the help of this wall. Now, wall walking, I don't even know that it's called a wall walk. This movement is intelligence. And knowledge will find its way. You know?
Beautiful. Okay, so
Yeah.
for this last promotional moment for like give and exchange, Hawaii.
Oh my
Hawaii is
God, I'm so
happening in
excited about that.
you and
So
Aaron.
nobody
What
knows
first
about
off,
that.
what
Yeah.
island? Who should go? Because we got plenty of
Okay.
time. This is gonna be published. You got plenty of time to save. But again, two other yoga goddesses with
Yes.
offerings in Hawaii.
So
Where and what?
Aaron and I graduated from the E84 yoga program together in Bali, I think like a couple of years ago. And, when you train with somebody, it's that like bonding, like relationship. And she's, bestest friends. She doesn't want to do a matching tattoo yet, but I can convince her, I think. Um, so she has opened this super charming little yoga studio, hot yoga studio in the island of Hilo. And her and I are going to offer this super awesome retreat from January 6th to the 12th. This is in 2025. And we have not really launched it yet. So like, you listener get to sign up first. And it's cool that you get to do this because it's super limited space. The retreat is called From Self, lowercase self, to Self, um, um, uppercase self. And we're gonna spend a week just immersing ourselves into the yoga, into the island, and into what's active within ourselves. So go on hotyogaboxandwellness.com and sign up for that wonderful week retreat.
Nice. So what will you be practicing asana wise?
Mostly E84 yoga, but we're going to have cacao ceremonies. We're going to have yin classes, some strength training.
And how long is it?
1 week, 7 days and 6 nights.
Perfect. And do they have to find accommodations? Yeah.
Nope, everything is included. We bring pretty much everything, and all the descriptions is on the website. Some meals, but we're going to make sure that you get to the places where you need to be to get your meals if we're not preparing them for you.
Wait, so they don't need to book accommodations like room and
No,
board?
it's all on
Wow.
us.
Okay, so
It's
it's
all
included.
included in the price. Yes,
Wonderful. Oh my
yes,
gosh. Okay, well, everybody
yes,
needs to keep their eyes open for that. And yeah,
yes.
these are just ways we can support Giselle. Like, in my opinion, it's like I had one car ride with Giselle from Austin to Dallas, and I was just sold at her pure heartedness. That's exactly who you
Oh.
want to learn from as a teacher. And as you grow as a teacher, it's like who you study under is like a pearl. Like who you study under, who you sit with absolutely matters. And I hate to say that, but it's true.
Oh.
'Cause yeah, because just some people have just such fire, and look at this woman, fire. So it's like, and we all see how like you're holding what people are passing down to you, and it's just how we can be reverent as teachers is just to take the lineage if we feel obsessed enough and study enough, so we could say, hey, yeah, I spent 2 weeks with Giselle, you know, in November, and and just yeah, and learn how to teach some beautiful postures, but mostly learn how to practice them yourself so you can be an
Definitely,
incredible teacher
definitely,
and a
definitely,
conduit.
definitely.
But thank you so much for joining us, Giselle.
Wow,
Oh,
thank you for this talk. It was so awesome.
yeah, you're such an inspiring person in this yoga community as a whole in the USA and beyond. The Italian goddess.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for just sharing your time and your stories and all the teachers that you love, just sharing them with our listeners and with me.
Thank you.
I hope you have a
Thank you.
wonderful day. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a beautiful rest of your day. We'll see you
Bye.
next time on Yoga Talk.
Bye. Wrap.
We did it! Stop
Wow, it was
recording.